皆さん、こんにちは。みーさチャンネル、資格ハンター編です。最新の英語ニュースを読み上げますので、英語の試験勉強やスキルアップにご活用ください。
Ireland Reexamines Relations with China by VOA News. March 13th, 2021, 2:45 a.m. File Ireland President Michael Higgins is greeted by Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in Beijing's Great Hall of the People on December 10, 2014. Higgins was on a state visit to China. Ireland, like many small countries dependent on China's economy, tries to avoid rocking the boat on issues deemed sensitive to Beijing. But controversies over the practices of Huawei, a businessman's lengthy detention in Shanghai, and a rising backlash against China's human rights records may force Ireland's hand. For members of Ireland's Wairreachtas, the national legislature joined the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, IPAC, last month as part of a coordinated effort to secure a tougher stance on China from the Irish government. Senator Malcolm Byrne of Ireland's Conservative Fianna Fáil party told VOA that his country wants to continue to trade with China, yet Beijing's oppressive approach to minorities, especially the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region, is unacceptable under international norms. Beijing in its approach to the Uyghur people to Tibet to Hong Kong, as well as the unlawful detention of a number of individuals, is wrong, Byrne said. We cannot turn a blind eye to the growing abuse of human rights and the rule of law by the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. He also supports moving the 2022 Winter Olympics from Beijing to another location. The CCP should not be granted the propaganda opportunities, Byrne said. Tense relations. Several recent incidents have intensified many Irish people's doubts about Beijing. One of the biggest concerns is China's jailing of Richard O'Halloran, an executive with the Irish subsidiary of an aviation leasing company. He traveled to China in February 2019 to help settle a commercial dispute that resulted in the arrest of his employer on charges of defrauding Chinese investors of $70 million. China's detention of Irish businessman spotlights global issue. At a virtual conference last week, 58 countries joined forces to battle arbitrary detention of foreign nationals. While not charged with any crime, O'Halloran has been told he cannot leave China until the money is returned to the investors. This situation has persisted for 2 years. Another high-profile case involves China's telecommunication giant Huawei. The chief executive of Huawei Ireland, Yong Su, recently wrote to Ireland's Minister of Defence, Simon Coveney, criticizing an academic who raised security concerns about the telecom company accessing Ireland's 5G network. Last December, Richard Marr, a lecturer in politics at University College Dublin, published an essay in Defence Forces Review titled 5G and the Huawei Question in Ireland. He wrote that Huawei had murky ties to the Chinese government, and as a result, giving the Chinese company access to Ireland's 5G mobile network posed serious and arguably unmanageable security risks. Su said the essay constituted an extraordinary and completely false attack on the company, and requested the government's full support in mitigating the damage that has been done. Marr said that Huawei's decision to go to the highest levels of the Irish government to criticize his essay was highly unusual. Their reaction to the essay exemplifies the risks of including the company's equipment in Ireland's 5G mobile networks, Marr told VOA. Neil Duggan, a lecturer in the Department of Government and Politics at the University College Cork, UCC, told VOA these recent incidents marked the end of a naive assumption that Irish companies and individuals somehow would not be affected by foundational issues in China of political and legal freedoms. Reducing China dependence. Ireland faces the same dilemma as many other Western democracies. On the one hand, it relies on China's huge consumer market to bolster its economy, but on the other hand, it is increasingly disturbed by Beijing's aggressive behavior in the international arena. In fact, Ireland is one of the few countries that enjoys a trade surplus with China. Last year, its trade surplus over China reached about 4.35 billion euros, $5.2 billion. Data from the Irish Central Statistics Office showed that in 2020, Ireland's imports and exports with China both registered a double-digit growth rate. Duggan, from UCC, said that given the relatively small size of Ireland, its foreign policy is less confrontational than those of most Western states. It tends to rely on interpersonal relations rather than megaphone diplomacy to achieve foreign policy goals. The most likely response by the Irish leadership is that it will increase its policy of trying to avoid overdependence on China in any one sector, he told VOA, so you may see the government encouraging more companies entering sectors such as the 5G network to reduce the influence of companies such as Huawei. Ireland has in fact become more vocal on the international stage about China's human rights record. Ireland is among 39 countries that issued a joint statement last October at the United Nations, condemning China for its human rights abuses against ethnic Uyghur Muslims and its crackdown on Hong Kong's autonomy. At UN, 39 countries condemn China's abuses of Uyghurs. At meeting of UN Committee on Human Rights, Western nations call on Beijing to respect human rights, particularly those of religious, ethnic minorities. Earlier this month, UCC announced that it would abandon a plan to establish a joint college with Minzi University of China, which specializes in ethnic studies. The school did not elaborate on the reason behind the cancellation, yet 50 scholars from UCC have previously requested an investigation into whether Minzi University was linked to human rights abuses against the Uyghur people in Xinjiang. Neil Richmond, a member of the Irish Parliament, told VOA that he's considering joining IPAC. He said China's human rights record would inevitably hinder Ireland and the European Union from deepening their economic ties with Beijing. The Irish government and partners within the EU must continue to be very vocal with regard to clear concerns. The ongoing humanitarian concerns will have a major impact on the ability of the EU to conclude any deepening of trade relations with China, he said. Byrne agreed with that statement. Our government is raising our concerns with the Chinese Communist Party. But if Beijing continues with certain actions, then I believe in collaboration with our fellow EU members and also with other countries that share our concerns, we need to take tougher actions, he told VOA.
以上で今回のミーサチャンネルは終了です。最後までご視聴いただきましてありがとうございました。よろしければ高評価とチャンネル登録をよろしくお願いします。